So 2025 AFL free agency and trade period have officially concluded. So we are now moving swiftly on to the 2025 AFL Draft. It's obviously in November, so it's in about a month, and we're coming towards the end of October. So it's time for my October edition of the mock draft. So let's just get straight into it. So over the past few months, when I've done these mock drafts, I've had to come up with these predictions for the trades and compensations, but they've all been officially locked in now, so I won't be doing any trades in this draft because I think pick swaps are way too hard to predict, and they're very dependent on what players, clubs have honed in on. So I don't think there's any point in trying to predict those because I think it's just it would make the draft too unrealistic. And I think the current order is the most realistic prediction we can make. So obviously this will change with bids. I've tried to make calculations for all the bids and how they fit back in. This draft will again be split into two parts. So since I'm doing a full draft, it will consist of 57 picks this time. It will be split into two videos because I don't want the videos to go for too long. So yeah, there'll be a part 1 and part 2. Last time I did this, I said I might do a part 2. I didn't end up doing it because I didn't think there was much point, given we were going straight into trade period and a lot was going to change. So I decided not to do that video, but this time I will definitely do a part 2. So stay tuned for that. Let's get straight into pick 1. So at pick 1, we've got Willem Dersma. So the past few months, I've had Dersma at pick 1 every single time. I think he's clearly the best player in the draft now. It was a bit contentious a bit earlier on, but I think his last month of football and kind of the last couple of weeks of his champ series really asserted himself as the top prospect of this year's draft. He's a utility. He's also got a pretty light frame, but he's drawn comparisons to Brendan Goddard, and I think that's a really good comparison because you can put him at any end of the ground or anywhere on the ground and he'll be extremely damaging because he just has the traits. He has the footy IQ. He's got that big body, 191 centimeters. He'll put some muscle on, obviously, at AFL level and fill out. But he's got good skills. He's agile. He's speedy. So he's got all of those attributes that you want in someone who you could eventually develop into a transition midfielder. So I've got Dersma going at 1. Pick 2, the Eagles bid on Gold Coast Zeke Ulan. So lethal left boot. He's I think 5'10 or 5'11, so he's not the tallest, but his left boot is just so damaging. If you use him in the front half of the ground or even on a wing, his inside 50 kicking will be an absolute highlight once he's at AFL level. I think the Suns will feed the ball to him because of how good he is by foot. And he also gets back defensively, so you can play him off a half-back flank and expect him to put in the work to defend in your team structure. But yeah, obviously his weapon is his offensive work, his penetrating kick as well. So Goulden is a laser-like kick. Ulan has that, but he also has the penetration in his kicking. So definitely expect big things from Zeke Ulan. At pick 3, the Eagles take Cooper Duff-Tytler. So this is a bit of a contentious pick amongst, I guess, Eagles fans and fans abroad, but I think as a 200 centimeter ruckman, people say he's a bit too short, which I understand. He's not going to be able to outreach other ruckmen, but with the new rules at centre bounce where you're leaping for the ball now, and you're not really relying too much on outbodying your opposition, I think Duff-Tytler will thrive off that. At stoppages, he's an extra midfielder, so even if he doesn't win the hit out, you can expect him to follow up quite well. Maybe kind of the way Tristan Sherry does, just more getting hands to ball rather than tackling, which is what Sherry's forte is. So I think Duff-Tytler definitely could have a big future at AFL level if developed properly. And if you think of Luke Jackson, that's the type of ruckman that you'll be getting with Cooper Duff-Tytler. But yeah, his also ability to get forward has really asserted himself as a clear number 3 pick, I think. At pick 4, I've got the Tigers taking the bolter Sullivan Roby. So Roby is a big-bodied mid. I've said in previous mock drafts that I don't think Richmond need any more of those because they've got Smiley and a little bit against Lawler as well, who you can consider a big-bodied mid as well. But Roby at 192 centimeters is a different type of big-bodied mid because he has that transition element to his game that will really set him apart at AFL level. He works defensively, he works offensively. He's got good skills. He's got burst from stoppage as well. So he really is the full package because He's grown, I think, 17 centimeters the past couple of years. So he's got those attributes of a small midfielder or a medium midfielder, except he's in a big body. So once you develop that midfield craft into the big body, for him to break tackles and break through packs, then he could almost be unstoppable. So he obviously will lose a bit of speed with that size, but you can see in his gameplay, like his burst from stoppage is still very clear. You can tell that he used to have to use his speed and his agility to match it against bigger bodies. So now he is the big body. He'll be a monster at AFL level. So Richmond have a very good pick here at pick 4. At pick 5, I've got the Tigers bidding on Gold Coast's Dylan Patterson. So I'm a big fan of this guy. He can play inside, outside. He's 186 centimeters, so he's a really good size for the modern day midfielder, transition mid. So he's got good ball use. He can play off half back as well. He's a solid body because of his background in rugby. So you can expect him to play at AFL level pretty much immediately if he can fit into that star-studded Gold Coast side. He can play wing, midfield, half-back. So very versatile, but I think his foot skills are and his line-breaking ability are what enable him to be in the top 5. Then at pick 6, the Tigers bid on Brisbane's Daniel Annabell. Annabell is probably the best pure contested ball winner in this crop. So I've gone over Dersma and Roby as midfielders and Patterson as well, but Annabell is the best, I think, clearance winner. So he's got this strong work rate that allows him to get from contest to contest and be on the move at every contest. 21 touches at VFL level, and then in the under 18s, I think he averaged 25 or so. So he's shown it in all areas. He was named in the All-Australian team. And obviously the Lions get priority access to him. So he's also a great leader. So he's this contested clearance winning midfielder who has leadership, and I think he slots straight into that Lions squad alongside the Ashcrofts in the future. Then at pick 7, the Tigers finally take their own player, and that's Sam Grill. So I debated between Grill and Lindsay, so Josh Lindsay, but I've gone with the speed of Grill. I think his 20-meter sprint at the draft combine has really set him apart as that pure athlete. But he's also very skilled, so his kicking isn't the most damaging. He doesn't hit those 45 kicks that much. He's more of a meters gain player, so you can think of him on the outside, just hitting at 50 meters and ideally not turning the ball over, but he usually hits it to a contest. He kicks the ball quite well, so don't expect him to pierce through defenses with his kicking, but he'll definitely be able to carry the ball 15 meters by run and then another 50 by foot. And I think the Tigers lack that kind of player. He complements Smiley, Roby, Lawler really well on the outside. So I think this is a pretty needs-based pick, and I think Grill just complements the Tigers midfield extremely well. Then at pick 8, Essendon are on the board, and I've got them bidding on Carlton's Harry Dean first. So Dean is the best key defender in this draft. I think he's obviously really good at defending one-on-one. He's also able to intercept, get off his man, and then he's also able to set up offense with his kicking. So you can think of him as kind of like a Cal Wilkie, who is great one-on-one. He's not the tallest, but he's great one-on-one, got good craft. He intercepts, and then he also uses the ball out of defense. So I think, Dean deserves to be taken this high up, and rate him really highly. So I think obviously the Blues will match this bid. This obviously absorbs their next couple of picks, but they do get a pick back late in the first round, which we'll get to eventually. So for now, Harry Dean gets the Blues. And then the Bombers follow that bid up with their own pick on Xavier Taylor. So he can play a variety of roles in the back six. He can lock down on small forwards. He can lock down on key forwards. So if you think of like the opposition's third tall or even their centre half forward at times, I think Taylor would be able to lock them away. But then he also rebounds. So I think he's very similar to Nick Voston in the way he plays. So Essendon I think will go for the key tall here. And then at pick 10, the Bombers take Sam Cumming. So Cumming is a player who's been injured for a few months now, and we haven't seen him in action since I think like midway through the champs. So he's that Isaac Heaney type of player who can play as kind of a pseudo fourth tall forward and then also push through the midfield. And with his ball use and his ability to win contested ball and clearance, I think he's going to be an extremely damaging forward half player. So you can think of the modern day player. Like, they all can rest forward. Dusty, Jordan DeGoey, Christian Petrarca, even Bailey Humphrey now, Isaac Heaney. Cumming, I think, is in that mold where he can rest forward and then he can also burst through the midfield. You can even play him full-time midfield if needed, and I just don't think they have that type of play at the moment. They've got really nice contest-winning mids like Caldwell and Durham. Durham, I guess, he doesn't have that overhead ability up forward, I don't think. So, yeah, Cumming just adds that added dimension. Then Melbourne are up next, and they've got their back-to-back picks. I've got them taking Aiden Schubert first, so this addresses their key forward issues for the long haul. So they've been struggling to fix this problem. They've got Van Rooyen, they've got Jefferson, and a couple of others, but I think Schubert would definitely just put this to bed. He's also got the ability to ruck. When you're playing two ruckmen with these new rules, you want a player who can roll through the ruck, and Schubert can not only roll through the ruck, but he gets around the ground as well. He's got really nice overhead ability. He's a really nice set shot on goal as well, despite looking a little bit unconventional. But yeah, he's still a very accurate kick, and I think the D's could do with a player like that. Follow that up with the pick of Dyson Sharp. So Sharp at pick 12 seems maybe a little bit of a steal to some out there, but I still don't see the ceiling in Sharp. I've said this pretty much every time I've spoken about him, but he's obviously got that mature body. He's been able to dominate against kids his own age, 17, 18-year-olds. But I think once he gets to AFL level, he'll slot in seamlessly. He'll, I think, be a really good midfielder at AFL level. But I just don't see him being that A-grade, multi-All-Australian type. I don't think he has that upside because of his lack of, polish on the outside. He's shown an ability to kick goals and win clearance, which I guess, depending on what midfielders you have, it could be useful. And I think the Demons, they have Caleb Windsor, they have Trent Rivers as well as those line-breaking, skillful mids, more so Windsor. And I think Sharp would free them up just with his clearance work, and he gets them on the outside to be able to use the ball and break lines. So the next pick should be Carlton, but their pick obviously got absorbed by the Dean bid. So Hawthorn are up next at pick 13, and I've got them taking Josh Lindsay. So Lindsay has been pretty much my pick for Richmond's second pick the last few months, but since I've picked Grill, I think he slides all the way out to Hawthorn now. So you can clearly see that it's a very even and needs-based draft. So I've got Lindsay going to Hawthorn. He's got that piercing left boot, pierces defences, and although I don't think Hawthorn have a desperate need for another half-back, the team is obviously quite stacked, and they've got a lot of young players who will come through, but I think just one more elite ball user who could potentially then move through the midfield if he starts building his body up. I think Lindsay definitely fits that profile. He's probably the closest comparison to Zach Merritt at the top of the draft available in the open pool. He's got that electric kick, and he's not the fastest, but you can expect him to be composed, use the ball around the ground. So at pick 13, I think this is a steal for the Hawks. Then at pick 14, I've got the Giants taking Mitch Marsh. So he's that 191 centimeter key forward, tall forward who is good overhead, mobile, and he's a very, very elite set shot kick. I think he's a long-term replacement for, Jake Stringer or Jesse Hogan. So he's obviously not going to be a full forward because I don't think he's tall enough or big enough, but you move Cadman into that full forward role, and then Marsh is the guy to play as a centre half forward or as a third tall, because he's extremely mobile. He gets around the ground as well. Extremely damaging as well, so he doesn't get the most disposals, but I guess that could be role dependent. You can develop that into him. But at the moment, he's shown that whenever he touches the ball, it turns into scores, whether that's through him directly or he hands it off to a teammate, and it eventuates into a score involvement. So, Mitch Marsh is that damaging forward half player. I think it would convert more of GWS's forward chains into scores, and I think that could be their missing link to a premiership in the next few years. Then at pick 15, I've got the Eagles taking Jacob Farrow. I think this is a very straightforward pick for them. I think he's a beautiful user, and he really complements the picks of Dersmer and Duff Tytler. Dersmer is that utility who is going to win you the ball. He's going to carry the ball through the midfield and transition. Duff Tytler is obviously a ruck, But Farrow is the one you can play at halfback, and he will pierce the ball with his left boot through zones. So I think he's the one that will hit you 45 kicks. Dersma is more of that meters game player. But yeah, Farrow I think really complements the Eagles side because they don't really have the best ball users. Obviously, their best talents, I think, Harley Reid, Elijah Hewitt, and then Dersma, obviously. They're all very much kind of burst players who have a lot of X factor, but aren't the most polished ball users. And I think Farrow offers that off halfback and eventually through the midfield. Then at pick 16, the Bulldogs take Oscar Taylor. So this guy absolutely blitzed the National Combine. You can find his stats on Rookie Me Central, but he won the 20-meter sprint. I think in all three of his attempts where he ran it, they would have all placed first, and he improved on every single one. So the athleticism on this guy is ridiculous. He's 182 centimeters, I think. And he's a rebounding halfback with a piercing left boot as well. So he's probably the third elite left boot user in this crop behind Euland and Farrow. But Taylor, I think he will provide the Dogs with a lot of rebound off halfback. I feel like they've struggled a little bit finding a long-term solution to this position. They've ran Johannisen through there, who's just been delisted. They've also ran Lockie Bramble, who had a good finish to the season, but I don't know if he's a long-term solution. But yeah, Taylor offers the elite ability to use the ball by foot, and I think that suits the Bulldogs' backline perfectly. Then at pick 17, the Crows take Oliver Greaves. In a year where they finished minor premiers, I think their forward line is set, their defence is set. Their midfield is the one area where I think they could probably have a little bit more support. Greaves probably isn't the player who will solve that issue in the next year or so, but maybe beyond that, if they develop him properly, he could be that guy. I think he just needs to have a bit more discipline in defensive transition, so getting back into defense and supporting the back six. But I think offensively, if you play him as kind of like a forward mid to start his career, he could be quite damaging. He's already got that mature body. If you've seen footage of him, he's already bulked up. So I think he's got the body to match it against AFL level players. But yeah, I think it's just that defensive work rate and then that composure on the outside with ball in hand. I think those are the two areas that need work. But I think, yeah, like in the next few years, he could definitely slot into that Crows midfield as that big clearance winner and complement the likes of Dawson and Saligo and Rankin going forward. Then at pick 18, this is where the Carlton leftover pick from the Harry Dean bid falls to. So I think with where he was taken, I think it was pick 8. Their first pick pretty much took all the points, DVI, and then the second pick had only like a small fraction to fill. So the remainder ended up being pick 18, and I've got them taking Lockie Doveston here. I think he complements their forward line extremely well. They don't really have the half forward X factor player. I don't think like they've got Moya, who's I think more of a overhead player, and then they've lost Durden obviously. They've got Frankie Evans, who's been a cult hero, but I think just another young 18-year-old spark to that forward line would do them a world of good. So I've got them taking Doveston at pick 18. Doveston also recorded the fastest agility test time, 7.794, which was the fourth fastest on record. And then he also finished top 5 in the running vertical and the standing vertical. So, yeah, that athleticism, I think, will hold him really well at AFL level. He's not the fastest player or the fastest small forward, but, you know, I think in the Carlton system, he should be able to, you know, provide that X factor. At pick 19, the Geelong Cats are on the board, and I've got them taking Jevon Phillippo. So I think the Cats are the perfect club to take a punt on this guy. I think if you've followed the draft relatively closely, this guy rated himself as the number 1 pick in the draft, which I love in a prospect. I think he's just backs himself, and you can see the way he plays. He plays with a lot of swagger. He knows that he is perceived as one of the better players on the field when he plays, and obviously it adds another level to his performance. So I love the confidence, but yeah, he's just a very good forward half player. He's damaging. He's dual-footed, so he can use either foot. He's very athletic and explosive because of his decathlete background. So he's got a really nice endurance base. I think he finished like top 10 in the combine for a 2 kilometer trial. So he's a good runner. So I think with that in mind, he's already got a pretty solid build. So he can probably play AFL immediately if you chuck him on like a half forward flank or on a wing. In the Geelong side, maybe it might be a bit harder to fight in. But yeah, you never know. I think he definitely has the tools to be one of the best prospects in this draft crop. But yeah, obviously there's a huge bust factor with him because I think he lacks the natural footy IQ at the moment. Like he looks like a player who hasn't played AFL his entire life, which I think is the case here. So you'll have to be able to develop him properly, but who else better to develop him than the Cats? Fremantle are up next with pick 20. I've got them bidding on the Sydney Swans' Max King. So King, I've talked about his bust factor, but he's no doubt one of the best athletes in this crop. He had the best standing vertical jump of 80 centimeters, which was 5 centimeters better than any other result in the combine. He was also equal fourth in the running vertical with 89 centimeters, and then 10th in the 20-meter sprint. So as a medium forward, that's an insane result. I think he's like 191 centimeters. So he's going to be that mobile third tall for Sydney. With Will Hayward being traded, I think King has the chance now to really just slide himself straight into the AFL system and play in a Swan side that looks like it's going to be really strong next year. So if they can get the development into King, he could also be, like Phillippo, one of the top prospects in a potential redraft in maybe 5 to 10 years. So with that bid coming in, the Dockers then followed up their bid with Louis Emmett. So Emmett is probably the second best ruckman in the crop behind Duff Tytler, but like Duff Tytler, he's also very mobile, uses the ball quite well. He's been injured for a bit of the season, so haven't been able to see him too much, but last year he was especially impressive in the championships when he played as a bottom manger. So yeah, he's mobile, he's got good ruck craft, and he can get forward and take a few marks as well. So I think as a foil behind Sean Darcy and Luke Jackson at Freo, it's a perfect pick, especially since they just lost Liam Reedy. Now Essendon are back on the board with their third pick, and I've got them taking Noah Hibbins-Hargraves. So this is a player he's one of the more inconsistent players in the draft, but when he's at his best, you can argue that he's in the top 5 for production, and he had a 5-goal haul early in the year, match winning. So this is the guy who, if you wanted someone in this draft pool to clutch up for you in the last 5 to 10 minutes of a fourth quarter, you'd bring in this guy and he will perform. Like he stands up in big moments, and I think Essendon need that sort of arrogance in their squad. Like they don't really have a player who can break the game apart and get them over the line. And with his speed, with his ball use, with his class, and his ability to finish through the big sticks, I think Hibbins-Hargraves is a perfect complement to Cumming, who is more of that marking target. But Hibbins-Hargraves is a runner. He'll get you on the outside. I think it's a perfect pick for Essendon. Up next are the Hawks, and I've got them bidding on Essendon's Adam Swade, so they get their pick out of the way just in time for a bid for Swade. So they match that. Swade is a forward half player, half forward. Compared to Dion Prestia, which I think is pretty good. I think he's a more of an attacking version of Prestia. I think you can sit him on half forward a bit more than Prestia has in his career. But yeah, I think he's very creative with ball in hand, and you can expect him to hit targets going inside 50. So these three players, Cumming, Hibbins-Hargraves, and Swade, they all add that ball use inside 50, which I think Essendon have lacked for a long time, aside from Zach Merritt, who's one of the best in the business. But apart from that, it falls away really quickly. So I think these three players will slot in really well, and I think they will take Essendon to another level in terms of this young crop coming through. And then the Hawks, with their own pick, take Cameron Nairn. So this is a long-term, I think, Gunston replacement. I think he's a player who can play tall or even as a high half forward. He's very mobile. He racks up the touches as well. Like he can get 20 plus touches easily if you play him in that high half forward role. But if you play him deep, then he's very good one-on-one. He finds ways to finish. Like they're not the most conventional ways, but usually he's able to mark on the lead and finish his chances. So we saw that with his 5-goal haul in the Champs series. So yeah, I think Nairn is the perfect complement to that forward line that consists of Mitch Lewis, Colsha Deer, Marbia Chol as well. I think those guys are good tall targets who will mark contested ball any day of the week. And Nan is more that ground level, high half forward type. So that concludes the October edition of the mock draft. So I'll leave the first part there. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave comments on who you guys want your clubs to pick in the first round. There's a few teams not represented here, so Port and unfortunately the Saints as well. So yeah, make sure to leave your comments on who you guys think, what changes you guys would make. Like the video if you enjoyed, and make sure to subscribe to the channel for part 2, as I think I'll be releasing in the next few days. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you then.